Oh boy. So I feel like the only stereotype that wasn't in this TV show was that Aisha can swim. In preparation for this video, I did rewatch like season 1 and season 2 of the original Winx Club done by 4Kids, not done by 4Kids TV, but premiered by 4Kids TV. The Winx Saga is definitely not the Winx Club. It's so far from the original source material. The only thing I feel like is true to the source material is that Blue, Maisha, and Stella exist, and you have fairies, you have the specialists or heroes, and honestly, that's just about it. Everything else has completely changed from the source material. There's really not much else that you can find from Winx Club in the Winx Saga. And you know what? I just feel like at the end of the day, this show should have been something completely on its own. I don't understand why they have to call it the Winx Saga. And then the TV show wouldn't be great. It would be able to stand up on its own as its own material without the criticism of the original Winx Club fans, and I think it would be fine. I don't really think this show needed the nostalgia baiting. Like, it's already a Netflix original series. I feel like with enough marketing and promoting from Netflix on their platform, the show in itself would have gathered its own audience back of like just its own aesthetic. It really did not need to use the name Winx in order to gather a already existing fan base and audience to watch it. It really didn't need it at all. With that being said, I want to try to judge it a bit on its own as a show that I watched. I will have to say that the show, if I try to detach the memory from Winx Club away from it just a little bit, it's not a horrible show, but the show's not great. The show is far from great. But again, I would like to say that it's not horrible. Like, the acting, I would have to say, is one of the best parts. Well, yeah, I guess, yeah. Yeah, I feel like the only redeeming quality about the show is that the acting is not bad at all. Like, I've watched some shows recently where, I watched Tiny Pretty Things? Like, I watched Tiny Pretty Things recently, and the acting in it was completely dreadful. One thing I do have to say about the Winx Saga is that the acting from everyone, hands down, I feel like was good acting. I don't think anyone's performance was outstanding, but I feel like all of the actors, they seemed like they were well trained. It was very decent acting going on throughout the whole entire show. I didn't have a moment where I felt like what they were saying or how they were saying something, or the way they were acting in general was cringy. The acting was like, I would give it 4 out of 5 stars, definitely. Like, I can't say the acting is great because I don't think they had any material to go off from to show me any real portrayal of like emotion to act from to say that it was great. But I feel like maybe if these actors had a chance and like greater material, they probably would do really well with it. The number one thing I want to go off from the get-go that I really dislike from the show, and I dislike from the very time I press play, is the racist whitewashing. Now, I've seen some comments from people who really want to watch the show and are really excited about the show and don't want to hear slander about the show, saying that, oh, you can't judge the show based off of whitewashing. That's not a good enough reason to hate on the show. You shouldn't criticize the show just because they changed the race of the characters. And first of all, that's completely wrong. People can hate a show for whatever reason they can hate a show. I understand if you can say like that's an illogical reason to hate a show, or like this is a petty reason to hate a show, but racism is not an illogical or petty reason to dislike a show. And to tell people that racism isn't a strong enough reason to discredit a show before they watch it is absolutely hilarious. I don't understand how people really have the gall or the mental capacity to sit down and say that racism or whitewashing is not a good enough reason to dislike a show before you watch it. So if I know a show has racist undertones before I watch it, is that not a good enough reason for me not to want to watch it because it's portraying racism, or it's actively influencing racism, or it's actively continuing a pattern of racism? That's not a good enough reason to dislike a show. That's absolutely foolish to say, and it's so negative. And if you're one of the people who say you shouldn't dislike a show from the jump street just because of whitewashing, please click off my channel, because people do have the right not to like it and not to want to watch something that has literally whitewashed material. What? Are you kidding me? Like, what? I feel like, and I don't understand why that's a specific response to this show, because when people said that about the Avatar, people full-heartedly agreed with that, and that was one of the reasons why the Avatar movie bombed when they made an adaptation for that. one of the #1 things that people noticed that none of the characters were Asian. The only Asian people in that whole entire movie were the bad guys. So I don't see why that's not a justifiable reason to dislike the show from the set. That, what? Like, how dare you try to diminish the feelings of POC about racism because you want to watch a show. If you want to watch a show, watch it. But don't tell people not to dislike something because of a very legitimate reason. That is so outrageous. It's so outrageous. I just have to get that off my chest. So, like I said before, one of the best things I think about the show is the acting. Like, that's one of my positive opinions of the show. The next thing I did like about the show is that I don't think the cinematography was like very bland and boring. I really thought that they would have done maybe like a Twilight thing, which I really hate. Like when you just do like a gray scale or blue scale filter over like a show or a movie. Like that's something I really dislike in Twilight. From a visual basis, I really love like strong, colorful, beautiful visuals, especially in like a TV show or a movie. I feel like that's something to keep me going, something to keep me watching it. So I really hate when shows purposely like put off a filter over their entire show or movie. Like I feel like, is this Instagram? Am I watching a story? Is this Snapchat? I don't like to see like a one set color filter over a whole show or movie or piece of cinematography. I absolutely dislike that. It's fine if you don't mind those kind of things, and it's fine if you do like stuff like that, but I really don't like it. I feel like it's really lazy cinematography, especially like I said, if it's just one filter. I could kind of understand if maybe it's a filter at maybe certain parts of the movie to like carry out a certain story. Like, for example, if you're starting off the story somewhere boring, you give it a boring filter, and then when we transition to somewhere more colorful, you give it a colorful filter to kind of show you the difference between those two worlds. Like for example, like in The Wizard of Oz, like if you start off like when Dorothy is still in Kansas and you start off with like a pale kind of yellow filter, and then as we see her transition into The Wizard of Oz, now it's more colorful and we have a brighter filter. I could justify that, but I still feel like you don't need a filter to do that. You could just like, that's where costume design and purposeful like setting comes in. You put her in a setting that's dull, you put her in clothes that's dull, and then your setting when you leave, it's beautiful and it's pretty. The clothes that she wears when she leaves is beautiful, it's pretty. Like the, you know, like the red glittery slippers and like the yellow brick road. I feel like that's how you kind of portray that transition through colors. You don't have to have a filter to do that. So I'm glad that they didn't filter the whole entire show, thank God. The third thing I like is that I did like the setting. I know a lot of people don't like the castle that they use for Althea, and I don't think it's an ugly castle. I understand, like, I did rewatch the show like I said, so I do think the original Althea was a little bit more pink, like a little bit more white, pink, and blue tones to it. But I don't think the castle is like horrendous. Like I feel like you have to be a little bit realistic. I don't know how much they could have done to try to make the castle look prettier. I don't know what kind of issues they ran through with like trying to film this during the pandemic. I don't know if they filmed it during the pandemic or like earlier. But like if they had those kind of issues, like I don't know how they've gotten around this. I don't know if they had a specific budget for their show, so they had to have a specific castle and a specific budget range. I don't know if any other castles that were prettier probably wasn't going to be doable. You know, I don't know the logistics around that. It looks similar. I feel like that's enough. So I don't mind the castle. Another thing I thought that wasn't bad was the visual effects, or the CGI that they use, or whatever special effects they use in the TV show. They weren't very cringy. I was surprised. Because I'm like, what kind of budget are they rolling off with? You know what I mean? And that was one of the things where I guess I could, you know, give them a break about the whole thing with like the wings and the transformation scenes. Like I understand, like if you don't have a Game of Thrones budget, it may be difficult to try to go all out with that kind of thing. Or even stuff like how the other world was filled with so much technology and stuff like that, which was not portrayed at all in this TV show, sadly. Like there's a scene where Stella's mom is pulling up to the school and just like SUVs, not flying cars. Meh, okay. like that was something like really interesting and fun as well about the original Winx Club. Like the other world was literally other world. They had other things going on. Like they literally pointed out at one time in the cartoon when Bloom wanted to call her parents and she took out like her Earth phone, and everyone was like, what the hell is that? And she was like, oh, it's my phone, I'm gonna call my parents. And the girls was like, bro, that is not a phone. That is a dinosaur. What do you have in your hand? That isn't, like, to them, like, that would be like one of those hard brick Nokias, or even worse. I feel like those would have been like one of those phones from back in the day that were like this big. To them, that was Bloom's Earth phone, which was like the newest model for her. And like, we didn't see that at all in the TV show. We didn't see that difference in like really cool technology. The reason why I thought it was really good is because you didn't see a lot of magic. So I guess they were purposeful with the magic that they showed us so that it could actually be good. But again, that also hurts the fact that we don't see a lot of magic going on. But again, if you don't have, I guess, a certain budget, then you can't really do certain things. But I wish there was a way to work around making things a bit more magical. Yeah, but like all in all, that's really all of the good things I have to say about the Winx Saga. And that's not a lot of positives, but I do have a good amount of critiques though. First critique. The first thing I instantly disliked about the Winx Saga as I watched it was that the girls were super catty and mean to each other, and I just wanted to know why. Why did they have to be so mean to each other? They literally stereotyped Stella as the mean girl, like as that it mean girl. You know, like how in every teen drama show or teen movie, you have like those three girls who you see walk down the hall, and they're the cool popular girls, and they're usually big, giant, like they're like, that was Stella, and I was like, why? Like in the original Winx Club, none of the girls were dicks. They were not dickheads. What is the need to make them dickheads in this show? Like, Stella was the meanest from everyone from this very start of meeting the girls. Like, she frequently insults the girls, gives them mean looks like this. You know, that look, that up and down, who are you kind of look. Like, she's so haughty about everything. Like, she's so unhelpful. Everything has to have like a sarcastic remark or a comeback, or she is just like generally dismissive of everybody. We never see Stella hang out with the girls throughout the whole entire show, which is just like, it's sad because the showrunner talked about how this is going to be a show about friendship, but none of the girls seem like they're actually going to be friends. They end up being friends in the end, but it doesn't make sense that they're friends at all, because a lot of the like through episodes 1 to 4, 1 to 2 especially, they're all mean to each other. 3 to 4, they kind of hang around each other, but it's like, it's not genuine. They're still sort of mean to each other. It's like they hang around each other because like that's who they have to hang around with. I don't think it's till like literally 5th and 6th episodes that they are actually friends, and I feel like that's only because in the 5th and 6th episodes the plot needs them to be friends because Bloom's in trouble, so therefore she needs friends to help her. But otherwise, throughout most of the show, there's no connection between them. We don't see them hang out with each other that much. They're too busy messing around with boy trouble most of the time, which is so annoying. For a show that's supposed to be centered around these few girls and their friendship, they spend a lot of the show focusing on how they interact with boys. But yeah, like, Stella is the stereotypical mean girl, and I feel like there's no reason to be that way. Like, Stella in the Winx Club, like, she wasn't I feel like she wasn't the nicest and friendliest of the girls. Like, she did have some snarky remarks, and the girls did bicker a bit. I did notice that. I felt like they bicker the normal way any roommates would bicker, friends or not. Like, there was a time when they complained about flooring having her plants all over the place, or complained about like certain things like, oh, you did this in the room, or you did this. They had like little bickering moments, but they still hang out with each other. They still had fun with each other. They still laughed with each other. The girls in the Winx Saga, I never saw them laugh with each other. There were times when they laughed at the expense of somebody else, namely Tara, which I feel like is tough, that everyone's picking on the fat girl. Like, you're bringing the girl for body positivity, but you have people making fun of her body constantly throughout the show. What's that about? Why is it that the stereotypical pretty girl of the group has to be the mean girl? It's 2020, girls can be pretty and they can be pretty nice. Yeah, I think there's other times where like just the girls are mean for no reason to Tara. Not all the girls. Aisha is actually, I think, the one girl who's not mean the whole entire show. I think there was one time she said something to Bloom that was like a little bit judgy, but then Bloom just is mean back anyway, so I was like, that balances out. But throughout the whole entire show, I never see Aisha try to be mean. Throughout the whole entire show, she tries to be as helpful as she can be to everybody and nice. There are times when Musa is being mean to Tara and Aisha tries to step in to just like, you know, make Tara feel good. Aisha and Tara, I think, are the only girls who are legitimately nice throughout the show. Tara being the nicest one of them all, always trying to be kind, always ignoring anytime the girls say something mean to her. She goes out of her way to try to like make a bond, especially with like Musa. But then, like, I don't understand why Musa is so snarky specifically to Tara. Like, that annoyed me so much. Like, there would be times when she was like, oh, she's an empath, and that's why I don't really want to talk to you right now, because I don't really want to feel emotions. But she talks fine to the other girls. So I'm just like, okay, I would understand what you're saying, but you're doing just fine with the other girls, so why are you like singling Tara out for having emotions? Like, there's a time when she says like, oh, Tara's emotions are strong, but I don't see anything that she does is so like overly emotional. Do you understand what I mean? Like, she does have insecurity issues with something else I dislike, and we're gonna talk about it, but she never has this pouring emotional response to anything. If anyone is like has very strong emotions, it's Bloom. Bloom is emotional from the beginning. She walks through the door to the last second of the last episode. She's constantly like, she's also actually insecure. She's also insecure. She's constantly angry about something and defensive and dismissive. So why does Bloom not disturb you, and why does Bloom's emotions not disturb you in your presence, but Tara does? Why is that? I don't get it. So we're just being mean to the fat girl for no reason? Or the plus size girl? Another thing I didn't like, they make Tara so insecure. And I do understand, like, if you are a bigger girl, there is a better chance that you may have body insecurity because of the way our society is set up to make us all believe that we're all ugly and we all should be a certain body type, especially skinny, and that big girls or plus size girls can't be pretty, and fat is a bad word, and if you can be considered fat, then you're not attractive, and that is something I heavily disagree with. But with that said, I don't think Tara had to be so insecure for the first 1 to 3 episodes, and I don't feel like her insecurity should be like her main feature to show us her character. Like, okay, we could show that she does have some insecurity issues, fine, but why is that her crowning feature to show us her character? Couldn't we show why she's such a kind person? Couldn't we see like why she loves her dad and her brother so much? Her brother just comes out of left field, by the way, in like the middle of the show when we need somebody to be in love with Musa. Like, why couldn't we show other character features about Tara for us to get her know her? The only time we're getting to know her is in reference to her insecurity issues about her body, or people, or not necessarily her body, but people finding her body or herself attractive. And I just felt like that was so irritating. Like, they have her questioning, oh, why does Riven find this girl hot but not me hot? Oh, we have her changing her clothes like in the bathroom, trying to change her clothes in secret without anyone looking at her. Like, why? Like, one thing I really love that Euphoria did way better with like the plus size character is that, yes, we did see that she did feel a bit insecure in the beginning, mostly because her friends are so different from her. But once we see her like going through this kind of sexual exploration, she gets so confident, and it's so refreshing, and it's just so lovely. I feel like that's one of the reasons why people love Kat. Why couldn't we do that with Tara? Why couldn't we make Tara a confident plus size girl? Like, I understand you may want to show the reality of like what plus size people face, but I feel like that's portrayed enough through media that we didn't need Winx Saga to do it. That's like telling black people, oh, making another show with the black characters from the hood and they're going through gang violence and their dad's missing, or like stuff like that, and telling us, oh, but that stuff happens. Yeah, that stuff happens, but it's been portrayed enough, and how many times are you gonna betray it to give us a story about ourselves? Like, can we see something else? Like, that's something POC or black people specifically say all the time. Yeah, that stuff happens, but can we see happy black people? There are happy black people too. There are black people with money. There are black people with family. You know, like, show us something else from this kind of character. Stop stereotyping this one story for this one character. Like, we've had enough. Another thing character-wise that I didn't like was I hated Bloom. When it came, like, from episode 1, she annoyed me, By episode 6, I hate her. She's the most annoying character out of the girls. She is so annoying. She's so selfish. She's so narcissistic. She's so dismissive. She's so back and forth. Oh my goodness, it's so annoying, and she doesn't make any sense. So that could just be plot writing in general, because things don't make sense throughout the whole entire TV show. There are times when Aisha is constantly trying to help Bloom, like with her powers, because from the very get-go she's saying that she can't control her powers, and she's confused about being in this new world, and she's confused about being a fairy. I didn't even know I was fairy. I didn't know you guys existed. I'm confused about everything. Cool, right? When she meets Stella, who's supposed to be her mentor, she was asking Stella questions because she's confused. Stella, being the mean girl that she is, says, "I'm your mentor, not your tutor," and dismisses her. However, Aisha, at different times throughout the whole entire show, is trying to give her that help that she asks for from Stella. But every time Aisha tries to give her help, she's like, "Oh, I got it. Oh, I already know that. Oh, you don't have to tell me." Oh, she literally told Aisha at one point, "Stop trying to help me." And I'm just like, you literally asked for help the first episode. Why is it when Aisha is trying to give you help, you don't want help? And there's another part where Stella again gives Bloom help in the middle of the show, even though throughout the other previous episodes, she's telling Aisha, "I don't want your help." She's letting Stella give her help, even though Stella hates her the most out of all the girls and has shown her the most grief throughout the whole entire show. Like, why does that make sense? Like, they literally have like this kind of love triangle rivalry going on with Stella's ex-boyfriend Sky, but you're taking advice from Stella, who kind of hates you because you've been flirting with Sky. Why would you take advice from her out of all people instead of Aisha? Another thing I didn't like about, not particularly about this character, but just how this character is treated, Aisha. Aisha gets the least screen time out of all the girls in the show, even though she's the only POC representative, and she's the one with the least amount of screen time. Like, we never see Aisha really doing anything individually on her own, or we never give a deep dive into her character. I know nothing about Aisha's parents. I know nothing about Aisha's struggle. I know nothing about Aisha's interests, but I've gotten a little bit of all of those things from the other girls. The only time I've seen anything from Aisha is when she needs to spy on Miss Farragonda. The only time I ever get much from Aisha is when she has to help Bloom, which is troubling. Yeah, but even when we do actually get screen time with the other 3 girls, Stella, Tara, and Musa, it usually is in relation to a damn boy any damn way. Like, when we see them get individual screen time, most of the screen time we got individually to see from Stella is in relation to her relationship with Sky. We've gotten one scene about her and her mom, but I feel like we only get that to kind of lead up to see what kind of person the mom is, and because it's relevant to the plot. It's not really, I don't think it was really for character development. The only time we saw Musa is because now she has a love interest, Tara's brother, and all of this individual screen time with Musa was her leading up to like them dating. The only time we saw Tara individually is when she was struggling with her crush on Dane, like one of the specialist boys. So the only time those 3 even got individual screen time to show us their character is because it was something in relationship to a boy anyway. So that's not even proper character development. The only person we see all the time is Bloom, I guess because she's the main character. But they're a group, so why don't you just put them together in a group doing stuff so we can see them together and we can see their character development all at the same time, so you don't have to have this like wasted screen time. My other main issue about the show was the plot itself. Oh my goodness, the plot. There's so many things that just didn't make sense throughout the show, and it just made me roll my eyes. And there are things that didn't make sense, there are things that were just cringy, like some of the lines were just cringy, and then there's just things that are just, I guess, like problematic. Like, one plot-wise, I just felt like they introduced that that they're on the brink of war. Okay, cool. Like, I don't like that they replaced the villains from the Winx Club original, the 3 Tricks girls, with this one female villain, Rosalin, who's locked up and she's tricking Bloom to let her out because Bloom is an absolute fucking idiot. So many little things that just didn't make sense. Why would you have a barrier around the school but anyone can go out the barrier? Why don't you have anything to track when someone leaves the barrier? Why do you have a barrier in your office, Miss Farragonda, to stop kids from going downstairs to where you have the prisoner held, but it only goes off once? Don't you have magic? How does your magic just work like one time? Like, is this an Indiana Jones movie? Like, it's not a moving rock. You don't have to reset a new rock every time. I don't understand why it only works once per entry. Why is that a thing? When they purposely held an assembly to find out who's the murderer by using the magic, why wouldn't you take a head count to make sure that everyone's attended the assembly while you're using the magic, to make sure you literally crossed out everybody as a suspect? Also, how do you not notice Bloom is missing? How is Rosalin giving commands to Beatrix and like Sky's dad from like the prison? Why would Beatrix care so much about someone she has not met in her life that just left her with this random dude to give her this mission for the whole entirety of her life? How have you not questioned this mission that you've been given since your birth? Like from like a day, a second, you never questioned this? How does Bloom not question Rosalin almost like at all? And why would you let her out to get answers to your questions? Like, at least negotiate for 5 minutes. Sometimes Bloom is powerful, sometimes she's weak. Powerful, weak, powerful, weak. It doesn't make sense. She's weak at the start, right? She's struggling to learn her magic. But when she does have powerful magic, she hasn't learned anything new to have her have powerful magic. It's just at some point, I think like episode 3, she suddenly has like so much control over her magic and we didn't see how she got that. I don't see why we shouldn't see that. Why was Aisha as well power inconsistency? Why was Aisha so powerful at the beginning of the show, and then like I think in the second, third, or I think it was like the 3rd episode, all of a sudden she's not powerful enough to take a droplet of water out of a big thing of water, but we see her remove droplets of water from the ground to help out Bloom's idiot self who almost lit the forest on fire. When Stella hides herself inside the room, she said she's inside the suite, she said she's been there for a few days. How has Muser not sensed her empathically at all until like what, day 3, day 4? What? That makes no sense. Like the first time she dropped a potted plant because Tara is talking about her, I'm pretty sure she dropped a potted plant because she felt some kind of emotion. How did Muser never pick up on that emotion at all? What? How did no one bump into her? How did she shower? How did she use anything? They just wait all day until they leave? Where does she sleep? They don't see a dent in the mattress? Other things just not making sense. There are things I just didn't like and I felt like could have just been smarter, or there are things that are problematic. Erasing the 3 tricks, witches, and just having Beatrix. Why you can just name one of them Icy, Stormy, or Darcy? Why? Like one thing I think I was really smart, and I don't think like maybe people picked up on because it is a kid's show, and I don't think maybe a lot of people really critiqued the Winx Club show back in the day. One thing I really thought was like very nuanced and smart, but girls were dismissed over and over and over again for not being evil. Like people constantly just thought they were being mean girls, or being bitchy, or just being basically a witch, and a witch would just be like troublesome and tormenting, right? Like there's literally a scene in the cartoon with the headmistress of like the School for Witches says about, I think, Icy's essay. She says she wanted to dominate the world, and the headmistress was like, oh, I thought she meant that figuratively, not literally. They're always dismissed by the headmistress of like the witch school and Miss Farragonda. Oh, they're just being witches. No, they're not just crueler, they're evil. I feel like that kind of smartly points to the nuance of real world society. And sometimes we dismiss the evil women are capable of. We always see women as this kind of like these innocent people, especially when the women are white. And then also we kind of liked those villains as well. Like Icy, Stormy, and Darcy were likable characters. I didn't care about Beatrix. She wasn't a bad character, and I think her acting was cool, but I didn't care about her. I didn't care about anybody throughout this whole entire show. That's on plot, that's on writing. Like almost all of the girls are so unlikable, except for, in my opinion, Aisha and Tara. Oh, another issue I have is like, why did Sky have so much screen time? Like there was so much focus on either the girls' relationship with the guys, or just like the guy Joe. Like Sky had so much screen time versus like in like the original cartoon. Like why? This is a show about these women. Why am I seeing these guys so much throughout this whole entire show? I do not care about them. Another thing I don't like about the plot or the writing is just like the show is so slow paced. Like I feel like I can overlook bad writing if the show is at least entertaining. Like the showrunner or the writer responsible for the Winx Saga was the person who was responsible for the Vampire Diaries. Vampire Diaries had a lot of inconsistencies and stupid just like things happening as well. But that show was entertaining as hell, at least I think from seasons 1 to 4. After a while it just got repetitive to me, just like the drama thing. I don't like shows solely based on characters reacting to drama for that long, because I just feel like what else are you gonna have? Like I already know what's gonna happen because your writing is not that smart, so it's not that entertaining after a while. But like this show didn't even have entertainment to me. A lot of people said that they weren't interested into what was going on in the plot until like the very last episode, and I feel like that's not good writing if I don't care about anything until the very last episode. Another thing I thought was cringy about the plot and the writing is terms like the changeling, the bird ones, or stuff like that. I find it so annoying when people come up with like lame things like that, or things that don't make sense. Like terms that don't even make sense for things. Like the changeling thing makes no sense to call it a changeling, and they use the word so often. Bloom was basically switched at birth. But at first when I heard the changeling thing, I thought she magically was switched at birth in the womb. So that's why we have a magical term for it. But no, Rosalin physically switched her at birth. So, like, what? I don't... Just say she was switched at birth. Why are you calling a changeling? I don't understand why, like, if Rosalin was the one who switched her at birth and she embedded that memory into Bloom, like, why are you calling her a changeling? Unless, like, Rosalin switched her at birth during the birth magically? I don't know. I feel like that was very vague. So like that didn't make a whole lot of sense, and I feel like there's no need to have a term for it. Just in such a term, just call her. Just say it's just a birth. Stop calling it a changeling. I felt like that was kind of lame. Yeah, and then also like I feel like there was this problematic and again nonsensical thing with like Riven kind of making fun of Dane, or like mocking Dane, or criticizing Dane's bi status. Like obviously he's bi because he doesn't just like Riven. He also likes Beatrix, and like there's a potentiality with him and Tara, but he quickly messed that up. So Riven is always making these kind of like critiques or remarks saying like, oh, are you full gay or what? Like, are you gay or are you not gay, and stuff like that. It's like you kind of seem like you're not all the way gay, and the thing is Riven is not all the way gay. He's obviously also attracted to Dane, and he's obviously also attracted to Beatrice, the same way Dane is attracted to him and Beatrix. So why are you criticizing his bi status when you're bi? You're bi. Why are you making fun of a bi man? You're bi. Plot-wise, something I really think as well distracted from the show and just like kind of deviated from the message of friendship, and like especially female friendship, is having Sky be like this kind of like love triangle situation between Stella and Bloom. Do you think all girls just fight over guys all the time? Is that what you think female friendship is like? Really? I guess that's what happens when you have a white straight male showrunner involved in a show that's supposed to be centered about women. So yeah, I mean, the only other comments I really have to make is on the clothing attire. The clothing is not very interesting at all. Like it doesn't inspire any trends. It's not gonna, I don't think it's inspiring any fashion. I don't think anybody even remembers any of the outfits one of the girls has worn throughout the whole entire show, except for the outfits they wear in the last minute of the show. That's also seen in the teaser and the trailer, especially Stella, who they make to be the prissy, popular, spoiled, mean girl. She doesn't even like wear clothes that I would care about, even though they make a point of Bloom walking into her room, judging her for changing her outfit, and then Stella retorting that, oh, I care about the way I look, but we don't see her in any outstanding clothing. We don't hear her talk about clothes, we don't hear her talk about fashion, we don't see her doing her makeup, we don't see her doing any of the things she said she has an interest in, and you stereotype her character to have an interest in at all. Like, I don't understand what is the reason to erase fashion? Like your show could have still been edgy and like dark and whatever the hell and dramatic, with fashion. I don't understand why when something is dramatic or edgy, that means fashion doesn't have to exist. Yeah, but all in all, I think as the Winx Saga stands, as its separate piece of media and art, I don't think it's a horrible show, because at least I do think that the acting is pretty good in the show. However, like, I feel like the show in general is not that entertaining, and the plot doesn't make sense at a lot of points in it. I watched this show with another person who didn't have any knowledge about the source material or doesn't care about the drama or the perceptions that's based on before. That person also thought that shit got very boring, especially in the midway through. Yeah, like the show is basically just trying to go off like the mystery and drama, but the mystery and drama is not entertaining. As well as whenever you have a show like that mystery and drama, it doesn't last long with the entertainment because it's gonna be predictable at some point. Like Vampire Diaries was entertaining for me, I think, up until maybe like season 4. I don't think I'd watch a part 2 of it because the plot is just so dull and so many things don't make any sense. I don't understand why they feel the need to erase the fashion from it. I feel like the only reason why they erase the fashion from it is because I feel like the fashion is too colorful, and they want something dark and edgy. But your show can be dark and edgy and also be colorful. Like, take for example Madoka Magica. Like, I feel like these are things anime people know. I feel like someone who was involved in anime should have taken the show over, because the show can get more entertaining, that's for sure, but then that's the only thing I feel like they had a chance of making better at this point. So yeah. Another thing I didn't like about the plot is that they erase like the separation between fairy and witches. The only time we hear mention of witches is when they come up with this whole blood witch thing, which are human people who are able to use magic by sacrificing. They didn't say sacrificing what. They didn't say if it was bunnies, if it was snakes, if it was goats or chickens. They just, like, she just said sacrificing, and then Bloom took that and went off and said they're bad people because they sacrifice. It didn't even say what, but okay. So yeah, like, and I kind of dislike that because I really feel like having witches as a foil to the fairies was I thought it was a really good idea, because technically anyone was able to become a witch even if they technically were a fairy. It's just like a different use of magic. And then I also like that how in the original Winx Club we did have an episode where the girls had to go to the witch academy to learn about dark magic by Miss Farragonda's advice, because they're going to be facing somebody who uses dark magic. So they wanted the girls to learn about like their enemy, which is a smart war tactic. And we kind of see like the thoughts that fairies and like witches have about each other, like this perpetuated hatred from both sides towards each other, and how, like, you know, we have this divide even though there's no need to be that kind of divide between the two just because they have different practices of magic. And like they erase that possibility by not having witches. I don't know if they're gonna have witches like show up later on, but I really wish they had kept that.